Bonjour à toutes.
Hello, everyone.
Bonjour, Robert BASSOLS.
Hello, Robert BASSOLS. So you are the president of the National Automobile Federation starting from 2021. So you have been a mechanical technician and also you have worked in a garage and so on and so forth. And right now you have this very big company with a lot of different subsidiaries and a lot of different staff members. And I believe that everyone around this round table was very much amazed to have a person who is working in the automobile sector here in CHAM. But everything can happen, and probably you have thought that Guy was doing something absolutely crazy. But why not? Because very often we believe that it's very interesting to also compare, let's say, the prices in the medical care to the prices, let's say, for the hairdresser or something like that. And why not do this comparison between the automobile sector and healthcare sector? Well, first of all, the automobile professionals can be absolutely everywhere, just as the medical professionals. But in terms of the emergency, well, I would say that for the automobile sector, this is a little bit complicated. Now, the second common point that I would say is the vocabulary that they're using, which is quite complex, very technical, and not very clear. We cannot really understand a lot of things there, so we just have to trust them. And the third common point, and this is basically very much in relation to our point, is that we have had in both sectors a very important technological revolution that has accelerated throughout this last years. For the automobile, this was the electric battery and a lot of AI systems. And for the medical sector, we have the 3D image and all the different artificial intelligence-related tools. So the idea of this debate that we will be having right now is to see together how you, the automobile sector professionals, are being trained and how are you using all of these tools and basically adopting them to your life. So this is why my first question: how many staff members have a continuous training within your federation? Well, hello everyone, and thank you very much for having invited me to participate here. We have approximately 100,000 employees, 100,000 out of 450,000 that are being training every single year. And after COVID, we have actually accelerated this process a lot because we had approximately 80,000 in 2019, and right now we have 100,000. So the COVID actually made this evolution possible, but also the technological evolution made it possible as well. So 100,000, I believe that this is a lot. Well, yeah, indeed, but we are actually forcing them into it. Well, I believe that we should probably use exactly the same approach for the doctors and nurses as well. Well, I don't know, I cannot really be in charge of absolutely everything, but how does it happen from the point of view of the financial aspect? So does it, who is financing all of this? Well, most of it is done by the public finances, but also by the professional organisms, and this is the major actor in the financement here. So the OPCO, as we call them, and these are the professionals, unions and organizations here. So this ONCO are basically calling the training centers, and the training centers are calling the staff members and the employees so that they will be doing the training very regularly. How much does this training cost today approximately, just to give us an idea? So I think that the trainings of 2 days are approximately of 4,500 euros, something like that. So these are the trainings that are quite heavy, but we are not just training one person here, so this will be approximately 7 to 8 people at once that will be trained. So the cost of this training will be pretty much divided per 6 or 7, so it will be around 600 euros, I believe. Is it for the employees? For the managers, the trainings are a little bit different, and of course the finance system is a little bit different as well. And this will be approximately of 200 euros, the cost of the training for the managing staff. Yeah, and this is basically especially determined with respect to the results of the training. So why do you think that it will be very necessary for a garage mechanic, let's say, to really be trained as well? Well, the question is the faith, the trust, I would say. This is the main issue here, because you can see the evolution. This evolution happens in absolutely every sector, and the evolution for the automobile sector is basically exponential for the last couple of years. So you understand that if you're not being trained, after approximately, well, you will have some 8 years for you to last, and then if you're not trained, you will be absolutely disconnected from everything, which is why the training is mandatory here. And it's mandatory specifically because the evolution is so important that if we will not be doing any effort in terms of the, let's say, AI, for example, we have talked a lot about it this morning, we have to really, not really like suffer or be reactive, but we have to be proactive. Well, of course, this will not solve all of the problems, but we cannot say no to a training at this level because when we're talking about repairing cars, well, we can no longer do it the old-fashioned way with a cigarette behind the ear and things like that. So it's over. This era is over. So we have to understand that the jobs are evolving and has evolved a lot. So we are right now a lot connected to the IT, to the computers and everything. So this is fully present, which is why the trainings are a necessity, a permanent necessity. So we will say that this is an opportunity for everyone that cannot be rejected. Well, if you reject it, you're going backwards. This is not progress, but the opposite movement. So this will be the absolutely different debate. We have to progress. We cannot reject the evolution. So what will be the type profile, I would say, of a very good, a very willing mechanic garage mechanic? I would say that everyone is going to do the training because otherwise they understand that, well, if they are employees, they will just lose their place. And for the craftsmen, for those who are the owners of the small garage, this is different. So what are you... how can you explicit this a little bit more? Well, we have a lot of young people here, and I would say that up to 55 years of age, a lot of people are doing a lot of trainings. So these are the young people doing the trainings, the young people that are quite old already, right? Well, I would say that the average here is approximately 45 years of age. So this will be the average age of the people who are doing the trainings, but I would say that the training is continuous throughout the life. So it's not like I have just finished the training and I'm coming here and I'm the best and I know everything. No, of course, this is continuous and you have to develop and evolve. And I have had some employees and some colleagues who believe that they know everything. And finally, you can find something just as Gabin was singing in his song. We never know everything. So the training is absolutely continuous. We cannot just decide, I will do this training once and then I will stop here because I know just this particular brand of car and things like that. Because you can see that all the different details of the car are very much different. Let's say when we're talking about the lights, the luminosity level is very different and we have different characteristics and specs and things like that. So we have to pay attention to all of this. And we also have to pay attention to this sir who was a philosopher, who was speaking before us. Well, it has been quite a while since the cars are connected. And the Teslas, for example, they are all connected. All the cars are connected and all the informations are passed from one to another. Do you actually ask the agreement of the car in question before sharing its information? No, of course not. And we are not asking the agreement of anyone here. So is there a difference between the craftsmen or the private owners and the big companies? Is someone much more enthusiastic for the trainings? Yes, I would say the difference is right here. And a lot of private sector, small professionals are very enthusiastic at the idea of being trained. And this is basically due to the reality that they can observe around them. So they are very much demanding this training. So these are young people and they are, well, what we call craftsmen, meaning the private sector. And it's a little bit more complicated in bigger structures because I would say that the small and medium companies, that's what I call craftsmen, the private sector, they are very willing to have all the different trainings because in the big structures and big companies, the trainings will be done internally in most cases. And this is also a little bit limited due to the willingness of the administration of the corporate. But for the private sector, the trainings will be much more open than for the big structures. For the big structures, big companies, it's a little bit less agile, so it's kind of a little bit more difficult. But for the small companies, often you have not a lot of staff, like 3 to 5 people or something like that, and they will have to be able to just repair absolutely all the cars of people present here. So they cannot say, I want this brand and I don't want that brand. They just have to take absolutely everything. So they cannot really be very, very selective. So it really becomes a little bit difficult. But for the medical sector, this will be very different. It's different, and it's difficult sometimes to have appointments. Well, what is also very important is the recommendations between peers. I believe that probably is efficient or not. Well, what can you say about that? I can say that when you are doing a training, you are always talking about it. You will say, yeah, this was good, I have done this training, this was good, this was interesting, and so on and so forth. And very often we'll have these clubs of the private sector professionals who are here in the cities or in the small villages. So they form these clubs, and very often in these clubs, the professionals who have more than 10 years of experience, and they will be coming and they will be explaining things to youngsters who have less than 2 years of experience, so that to explain to them all the possibilities and things like that. And they will also explain the trainings, because if you don't do these trainings, you will not be able to evolve together with the society and continue working. Well, thank you for this explanation. Is there an evolution after these trainings, or this evolution is just coming from the fact that you're working every single day in continuous? Well, we don't really have any evaluation once the trainings are done, because we actually understand that people who are being trained are also in need of some other trainings. So the assessment is pretty much here. So we understand that the people who have been trained, they want to continue being trained on some other modules, on some other jobs, I would say, and jobs, well, within the automobile industry, let's say, to repair different things or things like that. And I think that the evaluation is basically done like that. So the assessment is here. Those who are being trained, they need additional trainings. So how does it happen in practice? Are these half days, and how many times per year do you have these trainings? Well, the trainings are most often organized per 2 days, and sometimes we have longer trainings. Well, when we say longer trainings, it means that it will be 6 days, for example, but this will not be just 6 days like in a row. So this will be like 2 days and per module, and this will be like 3 different modules, because if we do 6 days in a row, this will be very difficult to manage all the appointments that we have in the garage. So yeah, throughout the year, this will be quite important. Yes, indeed. The average is approximately at 4 days per year, which means 2 modules for most of the people. And this is already quite an important quantity. And the last question, do you have sometimes a risk of overtraining? Well, when we were working together, I actually found it very interesting, especially when we compare it to the world of the healthcare. Well, I would say that the risk of the overtraining is always present here. And this is what people were saying here. So be careful to not overdo it, because very often this risk is present for people who are coming out of the university or school, and they're starting another training, a more important one, or who are coming out of the training centers, I would say, not just from schools, but probably they have some professional diplomas and things like that, and they just want to continue their training. So the issue that we find for these people is that, like, the AI will not be doing everything for you. Be careful here. So do not trust the machine too much. So they will sometimes trust the machine too much, and they will not notice some defects that are minor, probably. Whereas sometimes the client for us, the patient for you, should know, well, approximately some things. And, well, this is not really the time when we were using the screwdrivers, but very often people are, like the youngsters, are starting by the machine before even looking at the defect that is here. And this can cost a lot of money and have a very bad result. So we have to be careful at the level of the trainings here. But trainings are very important, crucial here. I would say that this is the fight that I have led throughout my whole life, and I believe that everyone here has to understand it. We have to acquire all the additional knowledge. We cannot reject the evolutions, and we have to, like, really pay attention, because this smartness, this intelligence for us is very important. So for the garage professional, you have to listen to your client, to analyze, to use your knowledge. So you see, basically, there's not a lot of difference between the garage professional and a very good doctor. Yeah, I would say that this is pretty much the same thing, because we are the doctors for the cars. That's what I can say. Well, thank you very much. You know that Guy is very much interested by the respect of the time allocated for each session, so thank you very much. We will stop here.